Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Mart and Watch. My name is Matthew and the watch that I'm going to review today is this Tissot Visodate. Now the name Visodate came about in 1953 and it was the first ever watch that featured the date window that can change instantaneously at 12 o'clock. This is the latest reiteration of the Visodate line. Before we begin, let's get the spec out of the way. This watch measures at 40 millimeters in diameters, 47 millimeters lug to lug, lug width of 20 millimeters, so it's very easy to find aftermarket strap for this, and the thickness of 11.6 millimeters, and that is already including the dome sapphire. If you measure just the case itself, it will be under 9 millimeters. So not a thick watch by any means. Now let's take a look at the case. It's made from 316L stainless steel and the case is fully polished. Now the design of the case is such that it actually slopes upwards like this and like this. This slope would make the watch wear a lot smaller than its size would suggest. So this watch measures at 40 millimeters, but 40 millimeters is if you measure from this end to this end. Alright? But then it slopes upwards. And then the watch that you see visually is from this to this. And it measures at only just above 37.5 millimeters. So this watch, although the official measurement is 40 millimeters in diameters, it wears a lot like a 38 millimeters. So that's the beauty of it. Now let's take a look at the dial. It has a very clean dial, and I would say the highlight of the dial is that Tissot logo with the very retro or vintage font. It makes the watch have the vintage feel to it. This is actually the old Tissot logo. Officially they are no longer using it now, but it is still featured in some of their heritage lines to give those watches the retro feel. The logo is actually applied, so it shines under the light. Below the logo is the Visodate name, and in the lower half of the watch is the automatic printed on the dial. For the indices, they are applied and they are also high polish, so they really blink under the light. You have single bar at most of the indices, but double bars on the 12, 3, 6 and 9 hour markers. Now this watch has both a date and a date window, so very useful as an everyday watch you wear to office. The handset is also high polish. The hand itself, the hour and the minute hands, they are dolphin hands. The second hand has a very interesting counterbalance. I'm very glad that they did not put the T counterbalance like in many of their watch lines, because that would be less appropriate than this counterbalance. Now let's take a look at the dial itself. From afar, it looks like a white dial, but under certain light, and if you look closer, you would realize that it has some silver tint to it. So I would say it's a silver slash like white kind of dial, and it gives the watch a very dynamic look, especially under the dome sapphire. So the edge of the dial, you see some visual effect. Now take a look at it. Very beautiful. I like this dial a lot because it's not cluttered. It has everything it needs and nothing more. Now let's take a look at the movement. This watch has a customized rotor with the Tissot logo, also the previous Tissot logo. I like it that the rotor is gold plated instead of stainless steel, because it gives a more dynamic feel to it. There's more color when you look at it. So this movement is ETA 2836-2. It is very similar to the 2824, just that the difference is in the day window. The 2824 only has the date, whereas this one has both the date and the day. The power reserve is the same, 38 hours of power reserve, and it beats at 28,800 beats per hour, so 4 beats per second. That is why you can see the very smooth sweeping mechanism of the second hand. Now for Tissot, majority of their watches nowadays will feature the Powermatic 80s, which has 80 hours of power reserve, but with a compromised bit rate of 21,000 bits per hour, so 3 bits per second. I prefer the ETA movement, the 2824 and 2836, rather than the new Powermatic 80s movement. The reason is that I prefer the sweeping second hand, the smoothness of the 4 bits per second. Also, unlike the Powermatic 80s, for this watch you actually have the regulating pin. So if it out of spec, like if it's too fast or too slow, you can bring to your local watchmaker and they can easily adjust the watch, the accuracy, by simply just touching the pin, the regulating pin. For Powermatic 80s, it is regulated from the factory by the manufacturer. So the good thing is that most of the time is accuracy out of the factory is better. But then if you want to service it, some of the watchmakers, they are not comfortable with servicing that watch, and you have to bring back to the manufacturer, which is a lot more costly. So that is why I prefer the 2824 or 2836 in this case. Now this watch, it is a dress watch, but I believe it can double up as an everyday watch as well. It's not that dressy, and with the right strap you can dress it down. This is not the strap that comes with the watch initially. So the watch came with a calfskin leather strap with alligator imprint, but I do not like those imprints, so I swap out for this sapphire leather strap. It has some texture to it, and it's not too shiny, so I believe it doesn't feel very formal, and this way I can dress down the watch. You can swap out for a suede leather strap, and that would make the watch even more casual. Now this watch retail at under 700 USD, but usually you would get 15 to 20% off depending on how good you are at negotiating with the dealers. So you can buy a new one just above 500 USD. But on the used market, they are even lower than that. So it is very value for money. The only thing that I'm not very fond of for this watch is the water resistant at 3 bar or 30 meters. It's not so great. It's alright for a dress watch. It's actually in line with the norm for dress watches. But for everyday watch, I would prefer something like 100 meter of water resistance. So if it's raining or you get wet in any circumstance, you are more confident that the watch will survive. But so far I have washed my hands with the watch on. I even run it under the water to clean up the watch, and it's still fine. No water got into the watch, so I think 3 bar is not that bad, but yeah, could be better. Now that's all for my review of the watch today. I hope you like it. Again, this is one of the best watches that you can get in this price range, and I believe that this is the best first Swiss watch that anyone can get. Have a great day everyone. Goodbye.